website. Let's see. DAOs in Australia? That what you said? That's what I saw. When I posted in the. No kidding. It's crazy. Yeah, it's like, yeah, when I posted about missing time there, it's like, it's Saturday here in the land down under. Like, what are you doing in the land? Okay, he's just being weird. Okay. Gotcha. Okay. Good thing. Hello and welcome to the Tumbled Tankard. I am Jim, aka Argent Wind, and I am your host here for DM&D, and with me is the wonderful Nans.
Hi guys.
Yay! And this is our last installment of the Class Act series officially. We're going to have some other interesting things. I've had one request for another episode coming up here. And we'll talk about that at some point down the road here. But today we are talking about the nerds of the D&D world here, the wizards, the intelligence-based arcane spellcasters, with their schools of magic and all of their fun nerdiness that they bring to the table here. But I will say,
You mean
yeah,
the glass cannons is what you're talking about.
except for the ultimate tank, which is the abjuration wizard. I will say that right now, there is a way to make a wizard really hard to kill. Um, we'll talk about some different versions of wizards down the road here and kind of what they bring to the table. But the thing about wizards too is that they are so versatile. The fact they can learn any arcane spell, get it in their spell book, and they'll be able to prep it as they go. There's tools they have to get extra spell slots back when they rest. There's lots of things that make the wizard a really flexible jack of all trades when it comes to their spell casting. Ritual casting, where they can just cast spells. Given a little extra time, they can cast spells that don't take up a spell slot at all. Um, just ways of being able to flexibly use their magic in a way that other spellcasting classes can't really do. Um, so your typical wizard is going to be, I mean, they're often depicted as Gandalf is your classic like depiction of a wizard. The beard, the robes, the staff. But wizards can come in all shapes and sizes and varieties. So don't feel that you're lumped into um, a specific look or feel for your wizard because they are extremely versatile. So they are. The thing they have in common, though, is yes, they are learning us. They're learning spells from scrolls, from books, um, and they usually have some sort of an arcane implement, or if you're watching the Mighty Nine right now and know about Caleb Widowgast there with his arcane spell components, determined to use those components there. Um, it's really interesting to see how someone decides that they want to cast their spells and use their magic. They use a focus or spell components or something else. But yeah, there's a lot of different fun variations there, and a lot of times the type of wizard you are is tied to the school of magic you specialize in, and those schools, running down the list here: abjuration, conjuration, divination, enchantment, evocation, illusion, necromancy, and transmutation. Um, those are the main wizards have out of the gate as many subclass options as clerics do. They often um, because of their schools of magic, clerics have their domains, wizards have their schools. And right off the bat, they had those eight. Was it eight to choose from? Yeah, eight to choose from. The schools of magic. Um, Now I know you haven't played Wizards much, but I
hmm
know you're playing one or you're playing one now.
Uh-huh.
What's your specialty?
So she hasn't started yet.
Okay,
Because of the way the game is built, I'm actually playing the monk first, and that's the main
gotcha. So
character,
you're
correct?
swapping.
But
Gotcha.
I
Okay.
have played a divination wizard
Cool.
in a
Yep.
previous game, and she was a lot of fun. She was a lot of bags and tricks of like, I'm doing this, I'm going to do that. They're more buff spells that she was doing. She was able to help
Sure.
the party be able to do better at what they're already good at doing. I did like that. I did like the ability of the DM kind of let me have free reign on some cantrip spells. I didn't want to cast a
Cool. Cool.
spell. I just wanted to hold it. It is the
Sure.
intimidation factor, standing behind the big barbarian, making the barbarian look like it was on fire and still was scary, scary. So, things like that. I know cantrips don't work like that,
Yeah.
but it was really
Well,
cool to
minor
be able to see it.
minor illusion does. Minor illusion's a great creative. It lasts for a
Hmm.
minute. You just kind of put it up there. So you want to like put flames behind the barbarian. Minor illusion lets you do that.
Hmm.
Um, control flames. You can cause a torch to kind of flare up nice and bright behind them. There's ways you can do that. And so cantrips are. Now, the thing about wizards is that, again, they get about the same number of cantrips as other classes. And they have all the arcane cantrips there. So they don't really get any extra ones that other people don't, but they just have, again, that flexibility of things like that. And then with their spell choices and their ritual spells, there's a lot they can do utility wise to help out. I've played a number of wizards over the years. They're one of my favorite classes to play, and even my sorcerer ended up taking a couple levels of wizard. And yes, I was a diviner,
Hmm.
uh, mostly because we needed to figure things out, and um, the person who did have wizard classes now um, didn't really,
He was a
I
barbarian. What are
ended
you talking about?
exactly. It was kind of about no. He was a freaking fighter. Um, but the thing about it is that the wizard allows you to um, dipping into a class. It gives you some very interesting ways of using your spell casting. So if you're another kind of spellcaster, like I was a sorcerer, taking the extra things in Diviner does allow me some spells that sorcerers can't take, like Find Familiar,
Hmm.
and some other ritual type spells there that the sorcerer can't take. And so it allowed me to dip into that. Plus, the portent ability for the Diviner allows you to swap out rolls,
Hmm.
2 rolls per day, which can come in clutch for a lot of things. Like you have a nice low roll in your pocket. Force You can swap out someone's saving throw with that low roll, and they're going to fail that save there. You keep a nice high roll in your pocket. You can basically make sure that your ally or you hit with that spell when you really need to. So you can just kind of like, oh, I'll just take that roll instead.
Yep.
So very useful thing for a diviner to have there. My my favorite wizard, I mean, like that I played the most and had a blast with was my conjuration wizard. And conjuration, you think, oh, that's just summoning creatures and that. Conjuration is also teleportation. So, being able to teleport and Misty Step and Dimension Door like crazy was a blast with that wizard. He was a hard one to pin down. And one of their abilities called Arcane Transposition lets you swap places with an ally within 60 feet of you. So you can do fun things like I'm going to run over here, like our barbarian just went down and he's hurt. Well, I'm going to run over to the cleric, arcane transposition as an action with the barbarian to put the barbarian at the cleric's feet, and then I'll misty step away from the guy that was beating the barbarian.
Hmm. Hmm.
So boom, 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 boom. Um, or just being able to like, okay, I'm going to swap 2 of my friends and move the barbarian over to here, who because something just ran up on my cleric friend. I'll swap the barbarian and the cleric, so now the cleric is clear and the barbarian's in melee with the guy that ran up to kill her. So very fun aspects there. Plus the fact that you can you summon some fun things, and do lots of fun things with conjurations and everything else. So um, uh, I mentioned the wizard tank is the Abjuration Wizard. Abjuration gets an arcane ward ability that you shrug off damage. And it's really fun to just sit there and be this ultimate tank. If you've watched at the Avarice campaign, Mabel, the NPC that ran that there was an Abjuration dwarf wizard, and was a tank because wizards in D&D can wear full plate if you have the skill, if you have the proficiency for it.
Mhm.
So dwarves get medium armor proficiency right off the bat, and with a feat choice can take heavy armor proficiency. So Mabel would run around in full plate as an abjuration wizard with a ton of extra hit points, like, and just would just shrug off so many hits and just be able to take even with a D6 hit die. It didn't matter because she had tough and a dwarven toughness, so she got +3 per hit die. Plus she had an 18 con, so +7 per hit die. So, um,
Too much, Tim.
yeah,
Too much.
I mean, that was my friend's choice to play that. And I've played a version of that in a game as well. A lot of fun. And there's tricks you can do to kind of beef that arcane ward up and do some fun things. Um, I had one of my signature characters that pops there, Nils Prepsel, was an artificer. But in the first version I ran him, he also had a bunch of levels in Enchanter Wizard. Because enchanters can um, they have the ability to maintain. Um, so let's see here. Let's see. I'm trying to remember how this works here. Hypnotic gaze that they have there. Any creature within 5 feet, they have to succeed or just be charmed by you until the end of your next turn. But you can maintain that. So as an action, you can just take someone out of the fight. You can't move anymore. You're done. Um, as long as you stay next to them, they're done, and they're hypnotized as long as you maintain the concentration on it, which is fun because then you can still do things like I'll still do bonus actions. So that's where you go ahead and take that level or two of sorcerer and or for the meta magic to do a quicken spell or things like that. So there's fun things you can do with these guys here. Evocation, of course, is the big bang wizard that can essentially selectively exclude their friends from the areas of the spells. So you can basically fireball your fighter there, hit everything around him there, but the fighter doesn't take any damage. Um, you can shape your spells differently. Those big area effect things like that. Illusion, of course, is you're a master of illusions, and that's one of those. It was a weaker subclass, unfortunately. It had some fun things, but illusions can be fun to play with.
I think illusion would be good for early on game.
It's it's hard to do at higher levels, yeah.
Right, right. Because it's like when you get to the higher levels, you're probably playing with characters that have a higher intelligence, and it's a little
Hmm.
harder to skirt past those illusionary spells. But goblins,
Hmm.
I
You
mean,
can make them, you can scare the crap out of them real quick. There, like our dragon, ah.
yep. So if you're playing a
um,
low level game, it would
yeah.
be a decent. Like, can you change your school halfway through?
I allow it in my games. It's the idea of that you want to modify your focus as a wizard. I don't have a problem with it. It's something you could do like oh I leveled up. I'm gonna change my thing here. I would offer up maybe an opportunity within a game of you 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 study and work at a wizard's guild and you've got access and time. Absolutely, I don't see a reason why you can't change.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm kind of the way with a lot of things. If you want to change the type of fighter you are, you want to change the type of cleric is a little bit trickier, but there's times when you might say, like, my domain is I am worshiping the god of the forge. Will you be a forge cleric or a fire cleric? I mean, so I would allow someone to swap if it still kind of fell in the same domain
Hmm. Hmm.
uh, of the deity, because the deity is not just one domain typically. So,
I remember
um,
sort of switched fighters
mhm,
quite often
yeah,
until we found
yeah,
something that just fit with the party, and then it just wasn't.
yep,
And then it just wasn't. So it didn't matter. But yeah, it was
yeah,
if you talk to the GM and the GM's pretty like you and me, um, pretty cool with it. Just remember, they're letting you change it. Don't blow up their game.
yeah.
I've had players
Don't
do
do,
that too. So
yeah. I mean, the idea is that I want to change it to this because I want to take this broken combination that's just going to make life simple, make life horrible for the DM.
mhm,
Like,
mhm,
well then,
mhm.
yeah. Typically, I also say if it's for a good story reason, if you're you're changing your focus because things have been going this way, or you've been studying this spell book that you got, or you've been working with somebody who has a different specialty and you really want to kind of follow in their footsteps or whatever, then by all means, story wise, it makes sense. If you're just doing it to be more powerful or just to try to break the game, I'm a little less like inclined to allow that. But if someone at least makes the effort to try to get a justification for why they would do it, then I'm a little more open to that. Um, and so round things out, necromancy, of course, playing with the dead. Um, it's uh, it's a difficult class to do um, for um, uh, for player characters.
Hmm.
It's a great one for villains. But yeah, there's some tricky aspects to doing that with player characters. Obviously, you're not summoning up your skeletons and zombies in the middle of town without getting in trouble.
Hmm.
Um, and then but yeah, as a villain, of course, why not use you make those buffer skeletons and faster summons that you can do. Um, and of course, transmutation, making one thing into another. It's also making yourself tougher, making yourself bigger or smaller. There's all kinds of fun things to do with transmutation um, as the class is there. And so each one has different specialties. You can still, there's nothing preventing you from, it's one of the things about wizards here, nothing prevents you from still casting spells from other schools. You just get benefits or special abilities tied to your school that you wouldn't get if you were a different specialty. So it's like I can still, as a diviner, I can still throw a fireball, maybe not quite as powerful or whatever as the evoker can. Uh, I can still conjure up an undead or some undead even if I'm not a necromancer. But again, the necromancer is going to get benefits for doing that and everything else. So um, how how now one of the wizards their specialties they can scribe spells into their spell book for cheaper. How much do you focus on that, or do you
So
make them spend their gold doing that?
I do, but I do it consciously, right? So
Yeah,
the same way if they're not having to purchase the small material cost because they have, what is that called,
arcade focus.
arcane focus, right? So they don't need to have the material cost under a certain dollar amount, right?
Yeah.
So why not have them spend their money on transcribing spells, right?
Mhm.
Throw in the spells that nobody thinks about using. I gave you a wand of web thinking it was the dumbest thing in the entire, and it caused me so much trouble for 10 levels of that stupid game. It was a
Yep.
blast. I loved
Yeah.
watching you have fun with the thing that I thought was the dumbest thing ever. So giving
Hmm.
the wizard a spell of web and letting them have fun at lower levels, why not?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, but here's the thing. You're going through dungeon crawls, you're having tons of money. Wizards, they get robes and rings because they can't really wear armor, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can give them
Depending.
ions, right? You can give them
Yeah.
ion stones, you can give them grimoires and all that other good jazz, but that all is for me, that's all high level. That
Sure.
is something you should be getting at a higher level. So at low level, what do you give them? You give them spell scrolls.
Hmm.
Let them pull into it. I think I have a somewhere in the massive amounts of library for spelling for wizards that I have are is a chart that breaks it down by level by spell scroll on how much you should be
Hmm.
spending to one purchase it, to put it in your book and then be able to use it, right?
Yeah. Yep.
I think it's like $100 per level up to a certain level, I believe is what it was. $100,
I
100
believe so.
gold.
And gold. It's 100 gold per level. And then it costs half if that's your specialty.
Right, if it's in your
So yeah.
specialty, yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think it was 100, but it gets pretty expensive the higher more
Oh, it does.
that
Yeah.
go up, right? I also run with, if I give you a grimoire, you have the spells.
Mhm.
I'm not
Yeah.
making you spend money to transfer it into your specific book.
Right.
It's a
Yeah.
book you
Like
own.
like you have two books now instead of one.
You're just
Um,
floating around with books
yeah.
like this all day long, right?
Yeah.
So yeah,
So
you're
yeah.
paying
Wizard.
astronomical amounts of money to either purchase the book, or
Yeah.
you went through sometimes literal hell to find the book and back and still held on to
Hmm.
it, why am I going to make you spend money for every single spell that's in that grimoire?
Yeah. Absolutely, and that's fun thing too is you can have fun with creating spell books that wizards can find as loot. If you have an enemy wizard that
Mhm.
the people are fighting, finding that person's spell book is a really cool thing,
Mhm.
and you can do things like, hey, all the spells from their spell list they're in that book.
Mhm.
Maybe some other ones too that they didn't have prepped for that day. So in a
Mhm.
similar theme, I had created a fire based spell book that was basically a flame wizard, basically an
Mhm.
evoker wizard that some bad guys there, and I created it was actually a special book that it was immune to fire. It couldn't be burned because it belonged to a fire wizard, so that
Right.
makes
Mhm.
sense.
Mhm.
But it held in it almost every arcane fire based spell in the game.
Right.
Um,
I
so
did
even ones that were higher levels that they couldn't do normally.
I I did one just recently for the game that's like a forever game. Um they found a book, they can't figure it out. They don't have the arcana high enough to do it. They're not watching, so it'll be fine. When they
Sure,
do crack it open, it's going to have all the first level spells and all the second level spells inside of it.
nice,
Right?
that's
They're
cool.
6th or 7th level now. So
Sure,
having access to all those early spells without having to transport, in my opinion, is just going to make endgame more enjoyable for me because now I can throw the Tarask at you and not feel sad about you not dying,
yeah,
right? Because you
yeah.
have a ton of spells at your arsenal. First level spells that are cast up to level 9, they could be just as powerful as some of those level 9 spells.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the upcasting for spells there is a really big deal, and yeah, it doesn't. It's one of the things that is an upcast magic missile as powerful as a power word kill? Not really, but at the same time, it's guaranteed a crap ton of damage.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, that they so you can do that you can throw it out there.
Mhm.
Um, some other the rest of the special the schools of the arcane, there's some fun ones in there. The blade singer wizard is a really fun like martial focused wizard.
Right.
So taking a blade singer, I've seen some really fun blade singer slash college of swords bards build, blade singer, arcane trickster rogues, blade singer, Eldritch Knight fighters. There's some really great combinations where you can expand your lower level magic capabilities. There's some really fun options in combat. And I mean, imagine that Blade Singer Eldritch Knight who's able to also now action surge and do some fun uh, combos with throwing their spells around while they're dancing around someone with a sword. Very fun stuff there. There's also some options that War Magic is again a martial focused wizard, all designed around doing a lot more damage and having that defensive capability.
Mhm.
Get delving into the critical role, the chronergy and graviturgy have some very fun things in there, some fun combinations, and it adds a whole lot of new spells in there. And then there's some other ones. Order of Scribes is a very interesting one. We get sort of a living spell book, which is kind of cool. Your spell book almost acts like a familiar, which is kind of neat. Lets you do some interesting like you can swap out like one element for another element and do some things that way there. So Order of Scribes is a very fun version of Wizards. We had one in our Plague City campaign, and an Order of Scribes wizard there. They did some pretty fun stuff. Being
Every
able to just like,
time
oh
every time
yeah,
somebody says I want to do that, all I can think of is the Sanderson sisters and that stupid book floating everywhere.
sure, sure,
I
yeah,
know it's not the same thing, but every time somebody says, Diana, I want to play a scribe wizard, and I'm like, all right, you're familiar. It's
yep.
going to be called book.
Well, and here's something to keep in mind too is that like wizards can have different looks and feels to them.
Yep.
I think of a book there, but there are items that allow you to do this, and I would allow 2 year too where your spells are all scrolled into a crystal. and it's not a book that you open, but you actually like hold this crystal and see the images inside of it,
Mhm.
or you can pull the text out of it and swirls around your head, and then sinks into your skin. I've seen tattoo wizards where they actually tattoo their spells. Their spell book is on their body.
Not losing that book, are you?
Exactly. Yeah. Now you could get burned. I mean, if your body gets horribly
Mhm.
burned, you might lose access to a spell, or or your arm gets lopped off. Well, now I just lost the spells that were on my arm. Um, but the thing about it is there's some other really interesting aspects to how you can store your spells beyond just stereotypical book.
Mhm.
Same with your arcane focus. A wand and a staff is the most common things, but it could be a floating orb. It could be a very obvious amulet of some kind. Um, Anything that would basically be something that's going to be, you have to either hold it aloft or present it or use it in the casting in some way. You can't just say, oh, it's in my pocket, so I'm okay. It's something that has to be like
Mhm.
used in your hand in some way and focus there. It didn't really come up a lot in descriptions there, but my sorcerer had his arcane focus there, which was a dagger. It was a jeweled dagger that he used there, and he always had it in his hand, um, and pretty much there. And I would encourage you as a DM, and you did a great you did allow this here, allow that arcane focus to become something important.
Mhm.
Like they're investing power and time into it. So having that dagger become magical, having that wand actually have spell casting capabilities, having that staff be a staff, eventually a staff of power, a staff of the magi. Um, like the
Yours
idea is
was
that this is my,
I
yeah,
combined your wand and your daggers together, right? Like you had
yes.
a couple of
Yes, I had a
things. Yeah.
wand of the war
Yep.
mage, and a wand of the war mage, and that dagger,
Uh-huh.
and I basically had a dagger of the war mage that had a pearl of power in the pommel.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yep.
Yep.
Next
So,
thing
uh,
I have a automaton wizard right now, and his eye is his arcane focus. I said, okay,
hmm.
but so it's always present, but like, how do we want to be a little bit more dramatic with it? Oh, I have a wig on and it covers that eye. So if I ever want to use it, I have to move my hair like I'm Justin Bieber. And every time he goes to cast a spell, he's flicking his head. And I'm like, you're not.
It's the Prince Charming from Shrek, like whoosh whoosh.
Yeah, yeah. I'm like, he describes it so well because he's not even on
That's
camera, but
great.
he describes it so well, and I crack up
That's great.
laughing every time because it's the '90s all over again. Let's whoosh our hair
Yeah.
back and forth. Ugh.
Well, and for me, if I were using one of those lines here, maybe like who was a Warforged wizard or something like that. The idea of yes, my eye lights up, the arcane sigils kind of like move out of it, and I manipulate them in the air in front of me, and then and cast
Mhm.
it out in front of me. It's obvious that it's something that's happening, and I'm having to use that.
Mhm.
Um, the idea that there's a concept from Hero system there is the idea of a focus, and arcane focus, of course, right there. But there's two aspects to a focus is how obvious it is and how accessible it is. So I would say that arcane eye is an obvious inaccessible focus because it's inside of his head.
Mhm.
Now that wand or staff that I'm holding is an obvious accessible focus because I'm only holding it.
Mhm.
Someone could disarm me. Someone could take off my hand and there it falls to the ground.
Mhm.
Um, if I'm wearing it, obviously somewhat accessible because someone could rip it off of my neck.
Mhm.
Um, but the idea is it isn't quite there. That thing is with an arcane focus. While using it, casting to cast spells, it needs to be obvious.
Mhm.
It's something that should be there. And the idea of a spell components, if you're using spell components instead, you are pulling these things out and using them and manipulating them in some way, uh, so that you actually have to like cast the
Yep.
spells with them. Um, so we touched on this already a little bit there, but wizards are obviously great villains. They're the mad scientist, evil genius type things like that. They've got their minions that are following them, and they're like they've either conjured up things or they've got little things they've built or created. They've got their wizard tower with all the spells on them and everything else like that. Wizards have that sort of, that are almost like ripe for being villains.
Hmm.
They're obsessed with power. They want to gain that magic there. They want to crack that secret of some kind.
Gale.
Wizards are, hmm?
Gale.
I mean, sure. I wouldn't say Gale's a villain though. I'm just saying.
Bane of my
Um,
existence. Yeah, okay.
Oh yes, yes. But obviously, in if you're watching Mighty Nine right now, I mentioned this earlier. There, one of the main bad guys is a wizard,
Hmm.
um, and there's a whole organization of wizards that are sort of focused on being the bad guys. Uh, they can be very vain, very vindictive. They can have all sorts of followers and or servants that do their dirty work for them. They're great to use as as villains, but they're also great to use as allies, getting information or missions from wizards because they're going to send you out to find those crazy arcane things that they've read about. And I'm not going to go out to that dungeon and traipse around there. I'll get my robes dirty. I might lose my book. You go get it for me and bring it back to me, and I'll give you an artifact or pay you a bunch of money or whatever. So
I
wizards
might
are
lose
wizards.
my book. I get my dainty little robes dirty. Oh man, learn to
Yeah.
levitate.
Exactly. So I'm just saying the Wizards they fulfill some great roles for either bad guys or allies in some way. They're great quest givers, great advisors. They can often go to Wizards to learn things from people because yes, they've figured things out. They're smart. They've got a whole library to go through. Um, and typically, your wizards guilds or your arcane schools are going to have a lot of wizards in them. So, and again, they're all intelligence based. They're going to be those ones that really um, have a lot of knowledge to impart when needed. Um, so, what's your have you had any wizard bad guys or wizard allies?
In my campaigns,
Yeah.
so you didn't fight him because you fought the demon overlords of, you know, Asmodeus. The other group, on the other hand, they did fight a wizard who turned lich.
Oh boy.
And yeah, yeah. And it happened to be one of the kids that they sent to the school to learn how to be a wizard in the first place. So,
Nice, nice.
I mean, well, you're gonna kick the kid to death. He's gonna want revenge, and he had
Yep.
some of it.
Don't bully the nerd. He may come back as a wizard and
And then
become a lich
lich.
and fry you. Yep.
So
I
not
mean,
only was he a lich, he was also I tied in because it was just about the time that Baldur's Gate 3 was coming out. I tied in the whole mind flayer aspects. It was a mind flayer lich.
oh
And
god,
yeah, uh-huh. And they discovered it at the end. He was growing a elder brain to be
great.
able to, yeah, yeah. Well, they stomped it, so it's not going to happen. But you
Yeah,
know,
of course. Yeah,
but the whole
yeah,
thing of him being able to just teleport 60 feet and stay in shadow darkness literally terrified the group from leaving where they were. But at the same time, they knew they had to leave because if they stood still, they were sitting ducks.
yep.
And they were
I
floating from island to island to island. There was like 5 islands that he was just because I turned darkness mode on. If you can't see past this point, you weren't seeing him.
yep. I
It
mean,
made for some really fun move around because he was moving around combat that
yep.
I not been able to figure out how to man because do new GM with wizards. But it was a lot of
Mhm.
fun just going, yeah, well, if he has the ability to move 120 feet with teleport, why not?
I mean, 400 feet with dimension door. Woohoo!
Hmm. Right? You're never gonna find him.
Yeah, exactly. Um, so obviously in Avarice, you ended up having to deal with. I mean, I went straight into old school Greyhawk here, and you were fighting Rary,
Hmm. Hmm.
the one of the Circle of Eight from Greyhawk,
Hmm.
and had to fight the Demi Lich of Bigby, and Mordenkainen,
Hmm.
and
Hmm. Hmm. That one hurt Jim, my character specifically. I
yeah,
don't know if you noticed it or not, but it's like during that fight, she didn't want to hit any of them because of her
ah,
psyche, right? So like she knew she had to put them down, but she didn't want them dead. And it wasn't
Yeah.
until the party was like, but they're bad guys. And I'm
Yeah.
like,
Well, and actually, keep it more like they are trapped here. They
right.
are stuck here. So it's Bigby, Mordenkainen,
Hmm.
and Melf,
Yep.
and Melf was the one that you were. Yeah. So that was the thing is that like bringing in those famous wizards too. I mean, obviously, if you're in Forgotten Realms, I mean, Elminster's the guy, and the
Elminster.
gods of
Yeah.
magic and everything else. Um, so yeah, it's fun to play with those larger than life, powerful ancient wizards, the Gandalfs of your fantasy worlds and everything else, and the other powerful wizards that may have gone bad or maybe other aspects around them. So yeah, wizards are great for high level threats, um, and high level allies as well. So don't feel free as a DM use those wizards. They're a lot of fun for that aspect there. I mean, a few famous wizards there. Obviously, Gandalf is kind of the classic one.
Hmm.
I guess everyone expects to see that one. Um, but there's some other wizards in popular culture, um, uh, and it's interesting because one of the ones I recently went back and watched a little more of this, but Constantine.
Hmm.
He literally drew spells in the air and drew on magic and everything else, and he was very and had like things he would pull out and use to
Yep.
cast his magic. Definitely a wizard type person there. Now he has a bit of a warlock bent to him as well, but at the same time, it's that. Um, I mentioned before that Doctor Strange was more of a sorcerer than he was a wizard there, but some other of the others like uh oh my gosh, who was his Wong? Yeah, Wong was
Hmm.
more of a wizard. He kept the library. He was reading the spells out of the books
Right.
and had more of a I know this magic and everything else. And so he had a little bit more of a wizard type bent to him. Um so any other wizards that jump out at you?
I have one, but it's kind of out there.
Sure.
I watched a series called Arthur,
Oh, sure.
and in my opinion, he was a wizard. Now, he wasn't
Merlin? Oh,
Merlin, not
Art.
Arthur. No, both.
Yeah.
Both. So it's kind of both.
Okay. Sure.
Merlin, the younger series of Merlin, like series going
Hmm.
through, but obviously Merlin's a wizard. We already know that. But this one was Arthur. It was after Merlin got a hold of him, but before he had taken the throne.
Hmm.
And he was learning how to do magic. Not well, but he was learning how to
Sure.
do magic. And I said, well, that would make him a wizard, but we never once talked about Arthur ever having power to do that in any lore that he's ever been in. So
Sure.
I did some deep dive to figure out where they got it from, and it turns out that everybody got it wrong. The stories that we've been told are not true. Like Merlin, obviously it's not true because it's fairy tales, but like Merlin did in the history, Merlin did teach Arthur some basic ability of magic spells, but they were what we would call um oh, what are they called? Like enchantment
Yeah.
spells. Like I want to make my weapon stronger so it actually hits the
Oh,
thing it's
sure.
supposed to hit, right?
So
So,
transmutation.
yes, that's the
Yes.
kind of wizard he was. He was able to say, "Oh,
Hmm.
that guy needs more armor, so I'm going to give him more the ability to make his AC a +2 for the
Yep.
time being," right? What was the other one? I can't think of it now. So, move on.
Um, a fun one to consider. Uh, oh shoot, my brain just went empty. Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! Anyone who like is using magic and using it has to learn how to do magic.
Hmm.
They don't just have it gifted to them. They aren't getting it from an exterior source. There, they've undergone. Well, obviously the whole. I mean, Harry Potter. I mean, it's all wizard because. I mean, they're learning it from books.
Wizard
They're being taught in
school.
the classroom. It's a wizard school.
Right.
I mean, that's the very, very obvious one. Um, if you're into lit RPG series, what's that? The Wandering Inn has a whole group of people in there that
Hmm.
are wizards, and one of the very I would say character on a really crazy arc is the necromancer Pisces. The guy is an arrogant jerk but does some of the most amazingly like altruistic things as well. Like he makes up for being arrogant sometimes, and then he's it's one of the somewhat justified arrogance in some ways because he is just that good.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
so, uh, but that's the whole thing. Is that anyone who has to learn how to do magic, it has to either from a book, from someone teaching them experimenting with it and figuring it out there. Those are your wizards. Those are the ones, and they're using their brain to do it. It's not just, hey, I'm awesome and I can do things. It's I've had to figure this out.
Mhm.
Those are your wizards. Um,
Do you ever watch a show called Shadowhunters?
I have not.
Ooh, you'd like that one. Shadowhunters is
Okay,
real good. It starts out she's obviously teenager doesn't know her past, and then all of a sudden her past comes to haunt her down, and she discovers that she has this magical power. However, in order for them to be able to amplify said power, they have to have tattoos on their body of that spell that they want to use. And when they
interesting.
want to use it, they have to use their wand, trace over the tattoo, and then that wand does whatever the spell was that was written on their body.
Now that kind of limits where you can have spells because they can you need a back scratcher for the one on your back there, and you
Depends on how big it is. Yeah, right.
can't reach like oh god, you
Yeah.
need to be really flexible. Had to do a lot of stretching exercises to be that kind of wizard.
It's for me, it reminds me of those because they're fighting too, so it's almost like a rogue wizard background type thing.
Sure,
I
yeah,
think you would really enjoy the show. Look into it.
cool.
You would like it.
Hunters. It sounds familiar. I just have not seen it there.
Mhm.
Obviously, there's a lot of anime, a lot of cartoons that involve wizards and wizard schools.
Mhm.
Two of my favorites, Mashley, Muscles of Magic,
I love that
and
show.
and
Free books.
Wisteria Wand and Sword,
That
both
was a good one.
similar promise, very different execution of
Mhm.
of the of,
Mhm.
of, of that premise there. Great things there that involve wizarding schools,
Mhm.
and the main character who doesn't have magic or doesn't have traditional magic, how to say, because they
Mhm.
got magic. There's no way they do those things without magic, but still, um, yeah,
Magic
it's
muscle.
very exactly. Um, so yeah, I think the biggest thing about wizards is they are not one thing. Like so many other classes. I mean, like fighters, they are doing combat. Sorcerers are they are gifted with power and they're focusing that there. Wizards are the grab bag. They can do so many different things. Obviously they kind of go down a certain path, but they have so much more flexibility and they can just be any kind of caster, really, even regardless of what school they're specialized in. It's really just one of those things where you can do lots of fun, crazy things. Um,
I
and so
had
I
I had a friend who played a wizard, and that was actually my first look at what a wizard truly could do. And he took Wall of Fire, put it around the sleeping dragon, and trapped my rogue inside of it with him. There was a small little door big enough for just me to get out, but I had to find it first because it's transparent on my side. But
sure, sure.
I looked at him and I'm like, "You can do that with Wall of Fire?" And it specifically states with Wall of Fire
Mhm.
that it can either be a circle or square or whatever you decide to make
Or
the
a
shape,
dome.
or dome, or just you can just literally cut the room in half and only have half of it with fire,
Mhm.
right? My
Yep.
brain went, "You got to be really intelligent to be able to do that." Now, again,
Yeah.
remember this is my first experience with wizards in general. And I looked at his character sheet because he showed it to me. I didn't realize at that point that our character sheets could go higher than a 20 in the stat block. He was this without a 26.
Jeez.
He could
That's
literally
crazy.
make thin air pop out of thin air if he wanted to.
Nice. Yeah, whatever you can do to boost that intelligence, I mean, is for the wizard there because everything's going to focus around that intelligence. So, upping those saves, making those attack rolls, and depending on which, they can't really add their intelligence to damage. I believe they can. Blade singers can do that. They can add their intelligence to attack rolls and damage.
Hmm.
Um, but in terms of like adding that intelligence to your spell damage roll, maybe not. But the thing is, yeah, they're dishing around so many dice, those big old fireballs, those big lightning bolts, um, and obviously the classic being fireball. And
Hmm.
I'm going to put it out to you. wizard players out there, Fireball's good. I'm not gonna lie, but it's not the only spell you need to cast.
It really isn't.
Like it really is not. And actually, I will go on a limb here and say something else about it there too. It's not as good as you think it is sometimes, because again, it's a very large space,
Hmm.
and you can't. I mean, unless you're a spell sculpting as an evoker, you can't make that into a smaller line and not hit your party members. You
Hmm.
can't not burn the entire room, including those books on the walls that you may want to be going through and finding. Um,
Or the
and so,
trees, or the
or the trees,
grass.
or the inn that you're staying in,
Yeah,
or
yeah. Yep.
whatever else it is. Like, so it's like keep in mind again the flexibility. Yes, fireball is a great thing. You got an open space, you got a bunch of guys in a cluster. Obviously, boom, that's a great way to go. But having that lightning bolt for that hallway, that long hallway there, or those guys are lined up in a field and you want to hit four guys in a line,
You did that
great,
lots of
great things.
times.
Oh yes, that was my. I played a character who never took fireball. I did eventually have fireball because I had a
Hmm.
staff of the mages, our magi. But anyway, um, lightning bolt was my fellow choice there because it was fun to move in it and line up that thing. Just it wasn't just like boom, like drop the fireball on them.
Hmm.
Um, so I would say, and there's a lot of other things. Um, Having that bit of meta magic or something to be able to transmute your spell and change it from fire to ice, great way to go.
Hmm.
Um, Anything you can do to kind of make that more flexible. So keep in mind that it's if you go all in on a certain element, if you go all in, obviously you have that fireball and you run into a red dragon. Well, there goes your main attack spell. If you can't throw something else besides fire, and yes, you can do things to kind of mitigate that to a certain point there, but it's not going to make something immune, not immune. Um,
Immune is
Fighting
immune.
any demons or devils, they're going to be immune to fire. Most of them are. So, I mean, even imps are immune to fire. So,
And if they're
um,
not immune, they're like resistant. And then
yeah,
they have, and 90% of those creatures that are resistant have other abilities to just say no. So,
yeah, yeah,
like, well, I'm with you, Jim. Like, you
yeah,
don't have to have fireball.
yeah,
I actually appreciate the wizards who don't cast fireball, who
yeah.
understand that there are other spells in the repertoire. I mean, if you look at my compendium, there are so many spells from the millions of books that I have on my
Yeah.
Roll20 account that are just like there's a spell for lightning that if you shoot one, it will jump to any other
Oh,
subsequent one around
chain
it.
lightning.
Well, there's chain
Yep.
lightning for that one, but yes, mine was like more like a lightning arrow. If you're shooting an arrow,
Okay.
it'll do
Sure.
that too. So like it that to me sounds more fun. Can I get a
Yeah.
cluster from the DM and then just shoot it off and have fun? Watch
Yeah.
all of them get hit by lightning damage.
Mhm. Yeah. It's it's very fun that way. I mean, and here's the fun thing too is that wizards, you are oftentimes like, while yes, I can toss that fireball in there, having that other spell that sets up your party members to be more successful. I'll just say, I never got to use it much, and I don't think Dow had it. He wasn't high enough caster level at it there. But the spell Scatter,
Mhm. Mhm.
if you can cast Scatter on a group there, because you can then rearrange them how you want them.
Mhm. Yep.
And so you go, I'm going to scatter, put these guys in a line, and let my sorcerer now like line them all up for one lightning bolt, or I'm going to blast them apart so so they're nowhere near each other,
Mhm.
and now like we now have a way to single out specific people we want to go after. So I mean, and obviously like the whole persons, the dominate persons, the charm monsters, and all that.
Mhm.
Those are the kind of things that can really change the course of a fight beyond just I throw some damage out.
Yeah.
Um,
And I do
yeah.
appreciate the wizards that are like that are not just damage cookies, right? Like I'm not just there to
Yeah.
throw out massive amounts of damage. I am there to also help the party do things. Get
Yeah.
like scatter.
Hmm.
What was the one spell that you liked? I get arrive.
Hmm.
The
Yeah.
Rive
Right.
spell.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's a fantastic spell. If you guys haven't looked it
it's
up,
a
look it
cold
up.
base spell that makes them that basically freeze them in a block of ice, and if they feel they're safe,
Yep.
great, yeah. And there's some fun other versions of spells there. And I would say the thing about remember the wizards are high intelligence. If you do the same thing over and over again, you're not playing up the intelligence aspect of your character. So I mean, really the wizard when you have the opportunity to have this wider range of spells for any situation there and being able to have that right spell for the right moment or those cool tactical things you can do if you're given a chance to prepare and you go hey I know we're going to be against some undead and they've got have a lot of zombie minions here then yes a fireball I have in my pocket there to hit all those zombies they're running toward us in a cluster great but then having that thing where I go okay I'm going to go ahead and instead I'm going to put a wall of fire between us and them. They have to run through it and die.
And they're not smart enough to not to. So,
Exactly. Or they might stop and go, oh gosh, and they're not going to go through there. But now you've closed off an avenue of the battlefield
yep.
that now your party can do things like then they can start the fish in a barrel aspect there. So
Mhm.
really, it's wizards have the opportunity to really think tactically in a way that other classes don't because they have a wider range and variety of spells to choose from. So Um, I encourage you to play up those smarty pantses, be those nerds, be those crazy tacticians that wizards can be, because it's a lot of fun to play around with it. Once you get those wands and those scrolls in your pocket and that staff lets it just expands your capabilities into more and more avenues of doing things. So it frees you up to have more options and do more cool things.
Mhm.
So,
Yep.
um, so I think we're getting close on our time here. So, the thing, obviously we finished our class act thing here. I'm not gonna. I will kind of say that and I'm just going to put this as a caveat here. Artificers are just mad scientist wizards. They're also intelligence based, but they're more around building things that do stuff and making items and anything else. They have a lot of similar overlap, and they can do some cool things together there. So I won't really get into the whole artificer thing there. Obviously, artificers have a lot of fun toys and tools. So where the wizard's the evil genius, the artificer's the mad scientist and you kind of go from that aspect there.
I think
But
artificers
our
have a harder play. If you're going to play an artificer, it's going to be a little harder to play. I'll give two reasons. One, you have to justify everything that you have on your character through a backstory, which means you have to have a detailed, laid out backstory as why you have a bag of holding at level 1. Where did you
as I
see
made
it?
it
Right? You made it. Great. But where did you see it? Who gave it to you? You can't just assume the DM's going to allow you to have those items just
right.
because you can, right? Yes, I know that says you can inside of your class.
Hmm.
However, you still need to talk to the DM and verify through a backstory of the logistical reason why you have these said items,
Yeah,
which
and if it comes down to yes, I've made a study of my there's transdimensional things here, and I found a schematic on this, or I found a bag of holding and I tore it apart and unraveled it, and then wove a new one to make it myself. Like, like
every
I, yeah, the
every
mad
player's going,
scientist aspect there. Like, what are
yeah.
you doing? No, um,
It's a bag of
or
holding. Yeah,
yeah. Or I found a bag of devouring and I killed the thing that was making things devour and turned it into a bag of holding.
right,
So again, that evil that mad scientist I was like woohoo, how do I make this thing into what I want it to be? Um or I'm just that like I'm a tinkerer, I'm assembling things like that. And
right.
so you really have a lot more thematic things to think about when it comes to artificers as opposed to wizards who are more again just nerds
That's
reading books.
yeah, that's
Um
point number two. Point number two is if you are playing an artificer, there has to be allotted downtime between you and the DM of what you're creating and when, and
yeah.
time associated with it, which doesn't always translate to role play.
Yeah. Well, it depends on the type of artificer you are as well. So
Hmm.
the idea of like the whole thing about the artificer's arcane infusions is they're not building the item from scratch.
Hmm.
They are infusing the magical knowledge of what they can do into an item that's prepared for doing that.
Mhm.
And so it's not like you're having to break it down from scratch. It's like, no, I'm going to take this thing. I'm going to take this my magical goo, my magical mojo, shove these things together, and there it is. Um, and so again, it's describing that. It's having
Mhm.
that way of justifying how you're doing it there. And yeah, it can be. Sometimes you have, as a DM, you might end up saying, no, let's go over this instead there. But basically, it's like, hey, I'm making this thing magical. Yeah, I strip out some magic from this and I shove it into here, and now it's better.
Mhm.
like,
Mhm. Mhm.
um, so it all depends on what you're trying to do with it there. So I'm Tony Stark, and I just need a bag of junk in a cave for a couple of days there, and I'll make myself an arc reactor powered suit. Um, there we go.
He's
Like
also a wizard.
in a
Don't.
way, yeah, he's an artificer. You know, he's
Yep.
absolutely an artificer.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So, um, but anyway, so yeah, yeah, it's a different aspect, a different thing there for the wizards there. In a way, I almost feel like artificers are a different school of magic. In a way, you can kind of there, but they have a lot more like item based things they do rather than just straight up magic based things. So
Right.
fun times
Yep.
there. But so, what is our next thing going to be? The suggestion we had was to kind of go through and talk about the different races and species of there and how they might fit into your campaign worlds, into your campaigns and your worlds there. Now, I don't want to do one episode for each race. I mean, but it would take a long time and but more just some things to think about in terms of how you because really the species races whatever you have in your game there are such a world building aspect that I want to kind of get into more races and species as world building elements and so I'm thinking about doing that um, maybe if not the next episode, then a future episode here, which will be in the new year.
Mhm.
So that's one of the ones I'm thinking about here. Um, Obviously, if there's anything from previous shows, like going way back there, this is our 60th episode. So there's a lot of content
Yay!
going back. Yeah, number 60 here. If you look back through the playlist of previous episodes there and want to see something revisited or expanded on, let us know either in the comments here. Send me a chat through Discord. Drop something in on the Tumble Tankard if you're on the server there. Um,
If
Throw
you're
some
not, get
ideas
on
out
it.
there. Yeah, if you're not on there, get on there. It's in the description below there. How to join. The link to it there. Um, and as always, like if you have things you want to hear more about, you want to hear somebody else's take on it, please feel free to let us know, and we can jump in and talk about that as there. That makes it in just at the end there. We're just
Probably so.
wrapping things up here now, but good to see you hop in here. Hopefully, you can go back and watch what we did there because we mentioned you a little bit there. We were talking about wizards, which I know you never played a wizard before in your life. So
I'll play a wizard? No.
no, Um, he didn't, obviously. But anyway, so yeah, again, if you have ideas, have suggestions, have questions or whatever else that, throw them out to us as always, so we can pick up on those and kind of run with them. Um, but this wraps up our Class Act series. I hope you
Mhm.
enjoyed it. Hope you got some good ideas for maybe how to play or use these different classes in your games. Um, and obviously, uh, we're talking about this in the D&D aspect there, but we tried to talk about them in some other many of the classes and how they work in other game systems and other genres as well. Not so much with the wizard because frankly, wizards are fantasy based. You're not going to see a wizard that
Mhm.
isn't involving magic. So,
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
um, but and the role they're going to play in any campaign is going to be very very similar. So, but thanks for hanging out with us or jumping here at the end. Eric, if you're watching now or in the future, there, please drop us a like, subscribe, tell your friends about us, all that kind of stuff there. And we will be back in the new year. We'll have our schedule up here, and once we get it figured out, but it'll be a couple of weeks at least. So I hope you guys have a great holiday and enjoy your games. If you're doing any holiday themed one shots, have fun with those. Um, but anything else, Nans?
Nope. Smash and like. That's
Okay.
all we like.
Alrighty. Well, thanks for hanging out again, folks. Here, as always, you're always welcome to the Tankard there. Stop by for some drinks, have some fun conversations, and we'll see you again real soon. Have fun.
Bye, guys.
Bye.